Good morning. How do you create love? How is it possible if you don't have a certain feeling to just say you have to have it and somehow it'll be there? So in this mimer, he discusses a lot of that, which obviously is in the relationship between us and Hashem. He begins and he says that the Parsha tells us, Eila told us Yitzchak, these are the children of Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the son of Avram. Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, right? So we talk about Avram and Yitzchak, and we describe them, or we mention them, but it's brought when Shir Hashirim wants to describe the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people. We say Smoilei tachas l'reishi v'yiminei tchapkeni, which means his left is under my head and his right is embracing me. There's two modes. There's a left and a right. The left is the level of Yitzchak, which generally speaking is mimata l'mayla, from below to above, which represents the effort and trying to achieve something and growing and moving and putting in tremendous discipline and hard work. And the right represents Avram, which Avram is no mayla l'mata, from above to below. So you have climbing up and you have giving top bottom. Now, if you look at Avram, who represents the giving, his avodah was achnasas orchim, having guests. Yitzchak, on the other hand, although I'm sure he had guests and he was hospitable, but his main focus was on digging within. He was chayfer be'eres, he would dig wells. Digging wells back then, when the commodity was animals, cattle, and you need a lot of water for them. So they would dig wells, and if you owned a well, it was a tremendous treasure. So Yitzchak would dig wells. Avram also dug wells, but his main focus was on giving other people food. So you have giving versus digging within. Digging within is not giving. Digging within is saying, I'm not getting it automatically. I have to go to try to achieve it. I have to earn it. I have to build it. I have to take the ground, which doesn't seem like it has a source of water, and dig and dig and dig, as opposed to just you get it from Avram. But to understand these two modes of giving and receiving, the Maila Lamata and the Mata Lamaila, we need to understand the pasuk which says Ve'ahavta. We say it every day in Shema. You should love Hashem. How do you command a person to love somebody or love something? You could say, even though you don't like it, you still have to do it. It's your responsibility in life. It's important, whatever it may be. But to say that you have to have a certain feeling, this is something which, if I don't have the feeling, I don't have the feeling, what can you do? It's either I do or I don't. So, but here we're saying that you have a mitzvah that you have to love. You have to have the hafta. How is it possible to do that? How could you command? How Torah command us? We say it in the morning and we say it at night. Hafta. You have to have Hashem. You have to fear Hashem. You have to love Hashem. Where do you get this from? So the answer is that before the pasuk says v'ahavta in Shema, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What's the concept of Hashem Echad? We're saying that a person, when he davens, he's not just saying words, but he's reflecting, he's contemplating. What's called this is beinunus. A person starts to think about and really delve into this idea that nothing in this world, as vast as it seems and as great as it is, is separate from Hashem. Not only is it not separate, but it doesn't become close to the infinity aspect that Hashem has. The more a person thinks about that, the more he's amazed or excited about Hashem. So a person gets touched or impacted, somehow excited over the fact that, wow, everything I have in this world is important to me, that I'm amazed by, that I think is really cool, is compared to Hashem, that's nothing. Not only that, but what do we say when we talk about Hashem and davening and Shemona Esrei and in general? What do we say? Havaya Elokeinu v'Elokei Aviseinu. Hashem, our God, and the God of our forefathers. Now, when we say Elokeinu, there's different ways to describe Hashem. You could say Havaya, which is Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hashem's name. You could say Elokeinu, right, which also means Hashem, but it represents a relationship with the world. There's the mode of Hashem when the energy is distant from the world. In other words, it's beyond. It's not about creation and limiting and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the mode where Hashem is interacting with the world. Now, this Elikenu means tzimtzum. I'll take a moment and explain what this means. In order to take infinite and create finite, you have to do something. You can't just give, because if you want to have a structured world with day and night and sizes and limits and all that types of stuff, you have to have a measured energy. If you have a one shot infinite amount of energy, it will just explode. So on the one hand, you need to have energy to create it. On the other hand, too much energy is not going to work. For example, if you want to have electricity in your house, you have to have a transformer. You can't take the source of the energy and just put it into the house. It's going to blow all the circuits. It's too much. You have to condense it. Now, that's an analogy. Talking about, from Hashem, taking infinite energy to create a finite world. There has to be a process of tzimtzum, which takes effort. I don't mean effort that's hard for Hashem to use and to do, but it's a step that Hashem does. And a person realizes, 1 second, Hashem made certain moves in order to create a world. And all this amazing world that we have, which is incomparable to Hashem himself, that he's infinite, he did all these things with this. Now, when a person thinks about that, that leads him to the feeling towards Hashem, the feeling of love towards Hashem. Now, afterwards we have something which is called the Vav. First you have Elikenu, which is the first time it says Elikim. That's symptom. A person is thinking about the fact that Hashem condensed, contracted, did all these steps necessary to create a finite world from infinite. Then you have Velikenu, Velike. The Vav represents Hamshacha, things that are flowing down from above to below. And the more a person thinks about the greatness of Hashem, just in the basic process of creation, he will have a desire to connect with Hashem. In other words, I want to be connected to infinite. I want to have a relationship with Hashem. I want to be more spiritual and not to go down to a very dark place. Okay, so in summary, what happens is like this. How do you tell a person that you have to love? Either I do or I don't. What we're really telling the person is you have to contemplate, you have to reflect, you have to think about Hashem's interaction with the world. That on the one hand, the world is completely removed. In other words, it's incomparable to Hashem. On the other hand, Hashem made all these necessary moves in order to create a world. And it's two steps. There's a tzimtzum, and then there's amshacha. There's the contracting of the intense energy, and then it comes flowing down. So when I think about that, I realize, I want to be closer to Hashem because of his greatness. Now, the more a person has a yearning to Hashem, we run another risk. A person may decide that I don't want to interact with this world. This world is distant from Hashem. It's very physical. You look around, you don't see Hashem's involvement, which is by design, right? It's hidden. You go into the world of materialism, of physicality, of just coarseness. It doesn't lead to a spiritual experience. And I have this love for Hashem because I contemplated and reflected about the greatness of Hashem and his interaction with the world. Now the world is incomparable, and he did all these steps to get there. So now I want to connect to Hashem, right? I want to disengage from the world. And for that, we said no. It's not okay, because the first step, what you'll have is ratzoi, which means a yearning, a running towards Hashem. What you have to develop is a shuv, a returning, a settling in this world. So it's almost like Hashem creates us and says, I'm putting you in this world. I want you to want to leave or to connect higher, but at the same time, stay here. Ratzoi and shuv. This is a constant theme that happens in the relationship between Hashem and the Yidden. On the one hand, we want to get closer. On the other hand, we understand that we have to stay down here, and that's how we get closer. Why is it so important to be down here? Because there's a principle that light which comes from darkness is a greater light. Whenever you have light versus dark. Light is good, dark is bad, right? But light which comes as a result of the darkness, they're able to transform the darkness into light. That's a much greater light. Now, where do you have darkness? In this low world. So we're saying you have to transform this world, the darkness that's here, into light. So even though a person recognizes the greatness of Hashem and he wants to connect with him, which means stay away from this physical world and be less involved, Hashem says, no, if you want to transform darkness to light, you got to go into that world. Do the right thing. Don't become like that world. Be a source of light in that world. But by behaving properly and doing the right thing, you're going to transform the darkness into light. So therefore, Ratzoi is not okay, or it can't remain with Ratzoi. It has to have a shuv, it has to return. That's number one. Number two, besides transforming darkness to light, Hashem's desire and his purpose in creation, and why he did all this, was to create a dira b'tachtenim. He wanted a dwelling place for Hashem in this world, in the lower worlds. So if the person is going to get so excited and leave engagement with this world, he's not going to be able to make it a dwelling place for Hashem. You only make it a home for Hashem if you're working with it. A person is in this world, takes a physical life, and he infuses it with holiness. He serves Hashem the right way. He stops in the middle of his day to daven. He's honest in his dealings, even though it seems like there's different benefits he could get, perhaps, with by not doing it, and so on and so forth. All these things, he's making a dwelling place for Hashem. So there's two reasons why, even though he wants to get closer to Hashem and separate from this world, he has to have a shuv and a returning and a settling and really just being in this world. Number one, to transform darkness to light. And the light that's a result of that is tremendous. And secondly, Hashem's desire, his purpose was the dira b'tachtenim. There should be a home for Hashem here. So in order to have this home, you have to work with tachtenim. You can't just... Now, this is the difference between Avram and Yitzchak. Avram was all about top-down, giving. That's why we find that Chazal tell us, Sheyhei Shem Shamayim Nisahev al Picha, that the name of Hashem should become beloved through you. Some action that you could take, behaviors that you could exhibit, things that you could do that are going to cause that people will love Hashem. It's called the Kiddush Hashem. You're sanctifying Hashem's name. What did Avram do? He set up a tent and he gave people food. And his goal was, let me give them nourishment. They're desperate, they need something. Now, after they finished, we know they asked Avram, how much is it? And he said, you don't have to pay me, just thank Hashem. They didn't want to, he named an exorbitant price and so on. The idea is that Avram was there giving stuff to people, in this case food, to get them to love Hashem, which is an accomplishment, right? Who was he giving the food to? To Arabs. And telling them, believe in Hashem. They're living at a time when it's all idol worshippers, and their focus and emphasis is on idolatry and other things. Here comes this guy and says, believe in one Hashem. They're not interested. Give them food. They have no choice. Now there's already a talk, an education, a relationship with Hashem. But this whole feeling of their connection to Hashem was Momailo Lamata, from above to below. You just got this food. What are you going to do? Not say thank you? It's not from you. It's not coming from themselves, which is perhaps one of the reasons why it didn't last. Yitzchak, on the other hand, is not all about giving stuff to people to get them to feel a certain way. He's about digging within ourselves and finding that we have it. In other words, developing, growing, reaching that level where I have that Avat Hashem. Now, it comes to a tremendous amount of discipline. When a person is digging to make a well, you need to persevere, even though there's dirt and it's uncomfortable and you don't see results. Keep grinding and grinding and grinding and digging and digging and digging until finally he finds it. This is what Yitzchak's Aveda was. So if you have right and left, right is giving, which is Avram, receiving, or from below to above, climbing up, digging within, finding it from ourselves, developing it, that's Yitzchak. Now you need both of these modes, and you need to have one after the other. So you also find this in these wells. Avram also dug wells, but his wells were stuffed by the Plishtim. The Philistines, they They stuffed up his wells. They closed them. What's the idea? Why did they close it? Because because Avram's concept of giving didn't endure. When it comes to Yitzchak, which he is from below to above, and it's that inner working, that self development that lasts. When someone has an automatic inspiration, he's just in the mood, he feels like it, so it lasts. It doesn't last. It's good for a little bit, then it's gone. When someone decides to do it and he puts in the work, even when he's not interested, he doesn't like it, he doesn't want it, and it's not all exciting, then it lasts. Right. So that is the difference in Avram and Yitzchak, and that's how you tell a person love Hashem. But it's not enough just to feel it; you have to develop it. When you develop it, and you realize the purpose, you keep that going. This is why by Yitzchak it says, and Mashiach will come. Yitzchak is the one that's truly called Avinu, our father. There's three fathers: Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Why is Yitzchak the one? Because he represents effort, discipline. The real pleasure and enjoyment that happens is when a person works hard and they see results. Things that are automatic, you enjoy it. Everyone likes to get a gift, but doesn't carry the same value to yourself because you didn't put in effort. So the makala is when it endures. The climbing upwards, the trying, the working towards it is where it lasts. A good Shabbos. Like, share, subscribe.
It's funny because in the beginning you said that Avram is the one who had guests, and